If you've been wondering how to use the power of segmentation and ActiveCampaign to drive more sales in your business, you're in the right place. I'm Karanda Adair, CEO of Carvel Digital and certified automation service provider. And in this video, I'm going to show you 4 of the top segmenting mistakes that people make that are for sure costing you sales. Before we get into it, let's define segmentation. Segmentation is just dividing your prospects into different groups based on their attributes or their actions so that you can talk to them differently about different things. The first mistake is not segmenting at all or not segmenting enough. If you are still just sending out your weekly or your monthly newsletter as a broadcast to everyone on your list, you're saying the same thing to everybody on your list, then you are definitely missing a big opportunity to increase your sales. If that's you, let me give you an example of some things that you can segment that will really make a powerful difference in the messaging that you send to people, because it will create messaging that's more relevant and therefore more likely to get them to take the next step. So let's look at this webinar example. If you do webinars in your business as part of your ways of attracting and getting clients, then you've got this webinar event, and instantly you've got 2 segments of people. You've got people who have registered for the webinar and people who have not registered. So how is that going to affect your messaging? Well, if they've registered, then you're now going to talk to them about the importance of actually showing up live for the webinar. Whereas if they've not registered, you're going to keep giving them reasons why they should register. So that is the first difference. Now, once people have registered, now you have all of these other possibilities, right? They can attend the webinar or they cannot attend. So if they attend the webinar, then you know that they've probably seen your presentation, they've seen your pitch, so you can talk to them about taking the next step, which might be booking a call. If they haven't attended, then you might talk to them about watching the replay. Right? So you're being hyper relevant, and therefore you're more likely to get people to take the next step because it is the next logical step for them to take. Once they've booked a call, then you're going to want them to actually purchase. So then you've got people that you know you've had a conversation with. Maybe they're thinking about it. Maybe you're sending them follow-ups of case studies to help them make their decision, versus people who have not purchased. You're not going to talk to them about those things. You might send them back to kind of your regular nurture sequences or your newsletter to see, is there some other opportunity or some other webinar where they then become a hot lead and become interested again. Again, hyper relevant targeting. It's going to make your messaging more relevant. It's going to help people stay on your list longer, and it's going to help them take the right action because you're actually talking to them about the next logical action for them to take. So start thinking about the things that you know about your prospects, or things that you would want to know that would help you speak to them differently based on what they're interested in and which of the offers that you have that might be right for them. The second big mistake is not planning ahead. Most people wait until they get to this screen in ActiveCampaign. They're about to send the newsletter and suddenly they think, oh, maybe I don't want to send this to my people who are already clients because, this is a marketing email for a new offer. And so you create the segment on the fly, it gets named something willy-nilly by ActiveCampaign, and then you don't even know what that means when you come back a week later. So you need to be planning out your segments. When people do this, making segments on the fly, I call that sudden segment syndrome. Say it 10 times fast. And you don't want to be doing that. So you want to plan out your segments in advance, and you want to think about what's going to be an action or a character trait that's going to cause somebody to come into this segment. So if you have the segment of clients versus non-clients, then if they buy something, that puts them into the client segment. If you have a subscription or a membership and they cancel, that takes them out of the customer segment. So think about, how do people come in and out of segments, and then how are you going to define that inside of ActiveCampaign? Are you going to use tags? Are you going to use custom fields? Or are you going to use a combination of the 2 of those things or something else? So now that we're halfway through, what are 3 characteristics in your audience that you would want to segment and you would speak to them differently based on the things that you know about them? Go ahead and tell me in the comments. The third big mistake that I see is lack of strategy. We're not just putting people in buckets just for the sake of putting them in buckets. The purpose of segmenting is to be more relevant, which helps you create a better experience for your prospects. The experience that people have with your marketing is going to translate into the experience that they have as your clients. Here's an example of how I changed the experience of an email based on things that I knew about my prospects. So I used conditional content in this webinar sequence to show a certain message to people who were already clients, because I still thought they would benefit from the training, but I wanted to acknowledge that, hey, I know you already bought this thing, but here's why I think you should come anyway. And then there was a different message to people who were not active campaign users to say, hey, I still think you're going to benefit from this training, even though you're not using this software, because I'm going to talk about some different principles. So that's an example of how you can be hyper relevant and how you can create a better and really specific experience for people, just using a really simple feature. The other big thing to think about in your segmenting strategy is, what do you know about your best clients, and how can you take those qualities and how can you find out who among your prospects has those same qualities so that you can really communicate to them, hey, you have all the qualities of someone who's really going to do great with our offer, and here's why. You can segment. If you can find that information, you can find out things about those people through surveys or through what they register for in your trainings or through the smaller products they buy. Then you can really be able to target them with messaging to let them know, hey, you would really do great with our offer, and here's why. Those qualities might be things like people who come to a ton of your events, or people who binge your content, or people who reply to your emails. Those are all buying signals and signals that people are really, really engaged with you, and you want to focus more on them and getting them across the finish line to buying your offer. Another way you can create a great experience is to allow people to opt out of specific campaigns for offers that they might not be interested in. So when we run a campaign, we will often have in the first few emails, we'll have a link that someone can click to say, hey, still love you, still want to stay on the list, I just don't want to hear about this one thing. And then we can instantly take them out of that sequence so that they can focus on whatever else they want to focus on. And that just creates goodwill that's going to make it more likely for people to want to buy from you. The fourth mistake is not documenting your segments. So if you're going to go ahead and plan them, then that is going to really make it easier to document because you're already planning and writing these things down. So now you just need a place to store that information so that everybody in your team can know and understand what your segments are and how to message those people. We use Airtable for that, but you can use anything that works for your team. You could use Google Sheets, Notion. The important thing is to really understand what makes someone fall into or out of a segment, make those things really clear, and document them for your entire team to be able to access when they need it. All right, I hope you're feeling better and more excited about segments and using segments in your business. If you found this useful, go ahead and grab my resource called The Hidden Gems of Active Campaign at carveldigital.com/gems to get even more useful information to increase your sales with Active Campaign. Quick to subscribe and hit the bell notification so you don't miss a video. Cool.